Good morning, afternoon and evening, my crazies. My name's Angela. I'm the Crazy Puppy Lady and welcome back to a tried and tested episode. This one's a little bit special as it's only got one item in it. Come on, let's go and see which item it is. Right, so as some of you may have noticed in the background, there is a cheeky some bunny. Now, this is not the pattern, well, it's not my make. I did not make this. This was made by our beautiful Mrs. C Cottage. Now, she made this with some yarn that she had ordered from me, and then instead of sending me a photo, sent me Evie. Now, Evie is absolutely gorgeous and she's all mine and all snuggly. Okay, so I really wanted to try Evie's pattern out, but of course Mrs. C wasn't really sharing. But I was on the cheeky because I got an Evie to copy, or so I thought. Well, I was really lucky. I managed to bag the pattern on a bit of a cheeky naughty, but I am sure that once this video goes up, Mrs. C will be okay with it and she'll be laughing about it. I don't condone sharing patterns, especially if they're paid for or for something special, like of course the Sun Bunnies. But as I was making it for Mrs. C, the creator of, that's where we were like, do you know what, we're crossing the line here, but it's safe to do so because she's getting it. If it had been any other pattern for any other person, I would not have done this. Okay, so I bagged a copy of her adapted pattern and proceeded to make myself an Evie replica. Now, I also used some of my hand-dyed yarn, but I decided I was going to use spot and stripe. There is a video up there that will take you through to the video dye list where I show you that yarn that I dyed and how I dyed it. I've got some left, but basically the weight I chose to use was a 4-ply fingering weight, which is on a 50% acrylic and 50% cotton base. Now it's only 50 grams per ball, and I thought, well, I'm going to have to go down a hook size because of the weight, so I went down to a 2.5mm hook and followed along with the pattern. But as per normal, Poppy didn't read the pattern in full. Poppy only read the parts she thought she needed. Poppy is a pillock. Okay, so as you can tell, there's something a little bit different with my bunny, including of course where I put her eyes. Yeah, not in the same spot at all. So of course I'm now going to show you my take on the poor Sun Bunny pattern, and please realise that Evie is a lot nicer and a lot cuter than my attempt by a mile. Okay, so here she is. Now she is called 7, and the reason behind that is as I was building up her ears, I noticed that the number 7 appeared within the colour work of the ear. Okay, it's on the inside of the ear, so I'm going to show you that first. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. You see there? A number 7. Oh, she says, trying to get it. So on both of the ears, it has actually got a number, sorry, So 7 has got a number 7 on both. Oh, you sneaked a peek then. On both of her ears. So she's called 7. And so of course, as I started this pattern, I started off by making the feet, making the arms, and making the ears, because I thought, well, if I run out of this colourway, it's fine. I've got some others in here that I can then whip up into a cake and make the body with, so she's not so mismatched. So as soon as I had completed those ears, 7 was already created in my head. That name was already there. Okay, so are you ready? Because there's a couple of issues. Right, so I'll just go straight for the issues before I show you her. When I started working the body, rather than sewing them on the bottom like Evie's has, I decided I was going to work them in to the project as I worked the round. So I did the math, I worked out where they would need to be in regards to the round that I was working on, including the gap. And as I did them, I was ever so happy because the feet were on and they looked brilliant. I hadn't read further down the pattern though. If I had, I would have realised that some bunnies have little pot bellies and quite a reasonably nice flat back. 7 doesn't. 7's got junk in her trunk. So she's back to front. So she got some junk in her trunk. And of course, I didn't cotton on until the head was on that 7 has junk in her trunk. Okay, so here she is. Here is a little 7. Okay, so she's got a wibbly wobbly feet on. I also worked her arms in the round as well. Now you make the head separately. So as I was working up the head, I also joined the ears, completely and utterly forgetting that of course Evie's nose is the end of the head pattern and not the bottom. So I had to do that bit again, stripped it all back, remade Evie, and then of course, not Evie, sorry, remade 7's head, and then I had to sew her ears on. That took me a couple of attempts to get it in the right spot because I was trying to make it look good with the eyes. They were also placed in the wrong spots. They should be a further round and further forwards if I was matching it with Evie. But of course I got it otherwise, so why can't she? So here we go. This is a little Evie. And as I said, she is made with my hand dyed yarn, and the colourway was Spot and Stripe. So I really hope that Mrs. C really likes this. I am now going to add in any messages at the end that she has sent me since receiving her parcel. So have fun in your new home and go and create mischief, 7. A little disclaimer: once 7 was made and I'd finished with her, all of the copies of Mrs. C Cottage's pattern were removed from my tablet where I'd received it as a message on Messenger. I deleted it all from my side. Okay, so I do not have the pattern anymore unless Mrs. C wants to send it to me and get me to make another one as punishment. And hopefully this time, next time, I'll be able to get the butt round the right way. Now of course, with the Sun Bunnies, they all come with a story, and I thought it was only fair that our Mrs. C got a story too. So I'm going to read the story out for you now, as I know that she will have probably read her little story to herself already, but if she hasn't, it means I could read it to her. Okay, so the letter says, "Hi Mrs. C. Please don't tell me off. This was all Evie's idea. I caught her whispering in my ear on the very last day of May. She was not happy that I did not do an Easter egg hunt with her. So as punishment, she set me to task on an idea of a different type. This started with a scavenger hunt, where she had me hunting around YouTube for a mystery item. This item is more coveted than the love, respect and friendship each Sun Bunny owner has. for the Sun Bunny creator, Mummy Sun Bunny. After a few hours, Poppy found the information she needed and ventured to the Facebook, where she hit up the only pixie, known as Dinky. Dinky is a cheeky pixie who knows Poppy very well and knows Poppy will keep to her word. Dinky handed over to Poppy a magic parchment with magic words to say in the deepest, darkest forest, while waving her magic wand over her head. And Poppy promised Dinky that once the spell was cast, she would burn the parchment so no witches could make armies using the spell within. So Poppy set off along the path with Evie on her shoulder and Liam, the big fluffy puppy, leading the way and scaring the monsters away with his wimply bark. Not monsters, squirrels. He chased the flipping squirrels. But after many hours of walking, the three companions made it to a magic clearing where the grumpy troll demanded they make him dinner. So dinner was made and Mr. Grumpy Troll left to go back to his troll cave and play with his building blocks. Now it was time, while Liam was distracted, keeping an eye on the uneaten sausages in the frying pan, Evie and Poppy set to task. Evie holding the scroll so Poppy could see, and Poppy held her wand high into the air and started to say out loud the words on the scroll. I'm sorry, I can't tell you the words, okay, because there's like no copies of the spell that remain. At first, the pair thought Poppy had read the spell wrong. Well, she's known for that. Words aren't her best friend. But just before she tried it again, there came a sound, just a small one. It was a troop of worker ants, all carrying balls of cotton freshly picked from all I can assume was a farm on the outskirts of the woods. Next came money spiders. They took the cotton and fashioned it into yarn. Wow, the speed of those 8 legs, all working at speed, was amazing. See, spiders can be our friends. There was only one thing left to do, which was add colour. A carpet of wild lavender, roses, and the daintiest of forget-me-nots appeared and spread out under the freshly made yarn, each giving up a little colour and beauty. The whole thing was mesmerising. Poppy just stood gazing in astonishment. Evie, on the other hand, had the biggest grin on her face. It was as if she'd seen this spell before. Poppy's wand flew out of her hand and joined up with the yarn, and started working. Loop after loop was formed. Piece after piece was made. Leftover cotton balls jumped up and dove into the mix. And with a piff, puff, puff, there stood 7, the littlest of the Sun Bunnies. She looked a little different from Evie, not because of her colour or her small stature, but because Poppy did in fact get the spell a little wrong. 7 has a little bit more junk in her trunk, and Div dazzle eyes, but that's her uniqueness, and due to her bigger bottom, she sits and squashes your troubles away. Well, that's what 7 told me anyway. Evie jumped down from her tree stump with a parchment in hand and ran over to the fire, looked at Poppy, and with a nod of Poppy's approval, Evie dropped the parchment into the flames. "Sausages?" asked Liam. "Yes," said Poppy, and they all sat down to eat. So I hope you like the backstory of how 7 was created, and fingers crossed Mrs. C also likes it, and I have done her Sun Bunnies a little bit of justice here, but remember, the Sun Bunny is going over to Mrs. C whether she wants her or not. 7's on her way, girl. You're stuck with her now. Okay, so I posted the package out to Mrs. C on the 6th of this month, and it actually arrived on the 13th, so 7 days to get to the US from the UK. Oh, that's so amazing. It went a lot quicker than what I thought. Okay, so now I'm going to pop in a little message that I got from Mrs. C, and a photograph if it arrives in time. Right, that is it for me for today. I really hope you've enjoyed the video, and I will catch you all again really soon. So please remember, stay chilled, stay happy, and keep crafting. Goodbye everybody.